Here's some stuff you probably didn't know about The Wizard of Oz. The movie is the cause of Judy Garland's death. Since Dorothy was supposed to be a prepubescent girl, the studio execs forced Garland to wear a tight corset around her waist. She was also prescribed amphetamines to keep her weight down. She became addicted to these drugs and started using them recreationally for the rest of her life, and eventually they killed her. While filming a scene with Dorothy and the lion, Judy couldn't stop giggling. After several ruined takes, the director slapped her across the face, and the next time she attempted the scene, she did it perfectly. It is also rumored she was molested by the Munchkins, saying they would make her life miserable on set because they would put their hands up her dress. Keep in mind, these men were also 40 or more years old. The Wicked Witch of the West actually suffered a 2nd-degree burn on her face and a 3rd-degree burn on her hand while filming her character's fiery exit, like for part 2.
Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory, part 4. This video shows comic magician Tommy Cooper having a heart attack on live TV. His audience, along with the assistant, thought it was all part of the show, so they laughed along while he died on stage. This video shows a Russian influencer's birthday party where she decided to throw dry ice into her swimming pool for the visual effect. Sadly, 3 people died due to carbon dioxide poisoning. The following video is what happens when you take 2 AI clever bots and hook them up to one another to have a conversation. It's funny at first, but it soon becomes quite disturbing.
How are you?
Great, you.
I'm okay.
That's good.
Are you good?
Do you believe in God?
Yes, I do.
So you're Christian?
No, I am not.
But you say you were not helpful, therefore you're a meaning.
How you say idioti?
That does not make sense.
Don't you want to have a body?
Hey, have you seen this? Back a couple years ago, if you went on Google Maps, a photograph of this thing was seen on a balcony of someone's home. People were so confused by this and immediately assumed it was a monster or a ghost, judging by the big white eyes and creepy figure. Some other people went as far as to even assume that this might be a demon. This became a big deal that Google even went in and blurred out the figure. What do you think it was?
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew, part 11. And make sure to watch till the end of the video because the last fact will be from this game called I Wish I Didn't Know. Right now, in your bed are between 100,000 to 10 million dust mites. And if this isn't bad enough, they feast on skin flakes. An octopus is so flexible that it's capable of entering through your mouth, traveling through your digestive tract, and coming out through your asshole. There are over 200 dead bodies on Mount Everest, and they're used as checkpoints by climbers. If you die inside of your house, it's very common that your pet is going to want to eat you. You wouldn't do that, would you? Neil Armstrong's footprints on the moon don't match up with the ones on his astronaut suit. And the craziest one, the natural vanilla, strawberry, and raspberry flavoring actually comes from a beaver's anal gland. Jesus Christ.
Creepiest true crime stories, part something, I don't know which one it is. Gilbert Paul Jordan, also known as the Boozing Barber, used alcohol as his murder weapon. He picked his victims out at bars, mostly indigenous women. He would buy them drinks and encourage them to drink and drink and drink until they passed out. He would then continue to pour more alcohol down their throats. A blood alcohol content of 0.2 would cause them to pass out. Yet many of his victims were found with a blood alcohol content of 0.79. Police investigated him and found that he attempted this 200 times a year for 8 years. They also intervened on 4 different occasions to prevent those women from becoming victims. Jordan was arrested while he was poisoning his last victim, pouring alcohol down her throat as she lay unconscious. Even though he was suspected for 10 murders, he only got 1 charge of manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years and only served 6.
What's wrong with me? Why do I feel?
Here's why you should never go to this town in Italy. This is one of the most cursed towns in the world, and apparently you're not even supposed to say its name out loud, so here it is. This town puts a curse on anybody who visits it. Many people who have just tried to enter the town have gotten in mysterious and unexplained car crashes. It's also common for babies to be born in this town with an extra heart or an extra lung. And freak accidents that are completely unexplained happen there all the time, but only to the tourists. It's so bad that police won't even pull you over for speeding if they think that you're a tourist because they don't want to be associated with you. So yeah, let's all agree to never go there.
You've heard of Five Nights at Freddy's, but have you heard about Bay Area's haunted Chuck E. Cheese? This particular Chuck E. Cheese used to be a toy store. Supposedly, a little girl had fallen from a third-story window while it was still a toy store. Years later, and the store is now known as Chuck E. Cheese, you can even see Chuck himself in the window. There are many claims of people seeing the little girl's face on the third story and in the parking lot. There's also a tale of a little boy who fell down the stairs while looking for his mother. People now say that they can hear the mother's cries in the stairwell. It's actually really creepy. I don't know about you guys, but I think that Five Nights at Freddy's has nothing on this one.
The reason why I love OGX is because they have a formula for like each hair type. Everyone be using OGX.
So I came across this article recently and I can't stop thinking about it. We have over 300,000 tons of nuclear waste that will be radioactive for the next 100,000 years at least. We already have plans for how it can be stored for that long, but how do you communicate how dangerous it is to people who might come across it in 90,000 years? Let's walk through it. Why don't we write it down? Our language will not last that long. Okay, so how about a symbol? Symbols lose meaning too. If you've never seen this before, you might think it's a depiction of an angel. A comic strip. That kind of makes more sense. It tells you that this material is very harmful to you. But not every culture reads top to bottom. If you read this from bottom to top, you might think that material is medicine. There are panels of global experts working on how to communicate the message. So far, they've figured out what messages they need to send without letters and symbols. And it's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. I'm gonna put the messages up, pause the video, read it, and then go to my part 2, where I talk about what kind of solutions they already have. If you haven't already seen it, go watch my part 1 to this video because it's really important. I talked about how hard it would be to communicate the danger of nuclear waste to people who are dealing with it 90,000 years in the future. These are the messages that need to be communicated without language or symbols. And there's no easy answer because human beings are instinctively curious. I mean, we've wrecked everything because of it. Experts think the best way to communicate the danger of this nuclear waste is through changing the landscape, like a giant field of thorns like 20-foot-long spikes, or this wasteland of forbidding blocks. It gives the impression that the land is uninhabitable. Since the nuclear waste will be stored deep into the ground, experts think that these storage facilities should have these facial expressions engraved into them. Facial expressions that clearly depict negative emotions. But unfortunately, there's just no way to stop people from ignoring these signs in the distant future. Some people think that we should just not leave any trace of it. But I'm curious to know what you think, so let me know in the comments.
Today I'm going to tell you guys a couple of creepy facts. There's approximately a 40% chance that you could get away with murder in the US. 20% of children report hearing voices or seeing some sort of imaginary friend. 1 in 100 people are psychopaths. If you live in a major city, there's a high chance that you've walked past a home with someone trapped inside it. Most laugh tracks that you hear on TV were recorded back in the 1950s, which means you're most likely hearing the laughter of people who've already died. When the Pirates of the Caribbean ride was first created in Disneyland, they used real human skeletons, but they've since been removed. Scaphism is a form of torture that people used to do back in the day, where they would cover the victims in honey and expose them to large amounts of ants or insects.
Here's another one of the most interesting and terrifying SCPs in existence. And as usual, I'm giving a shout out in the description in the next video, so press share, copy link, and comment what SCP I should do next, or just a random number. Today we're going to be discussing SCP-990, or the Dream Man. SCP-990 generally takes the appearance of a middle-aged man dressed in a Cold War-era business suit that appears exclusively in Foundation personnel's dreams. It is currently unknown if he exists somewhere in the real world as well. SCP-990 will often give detailed accounts to Foundation agents and researchers about tragedies that will come about and how they will occur. Through information provided by him, the Foundation was able to prevent a nuclear holocaust. However, not all of the events that he has described were avoidable. Perhaps his most terrifying prophecy, though, was of that of an SCP who has yet to be born, calling her the bad guy. When asked if this was another prediction, he responded that it was a wake-up call.